Make room for Javi.
Welcome to my Project a Day video, where I explain a project or tell a story each day for a year, and I attempt to complete my shop. Today is day 10 of 365, and today's project is taking apart my old temporary shelves #1. So today's story is a little bit of nostalgia about an area where I grew up in Miami, which is called Westchester. About a mile from my house was the Westchester Shopping Center. We called the one close to home Westchester Mall, and the other one was called the Kmart Mall. Back in the day, let's see if I can remember all the stores in order, or roughly. First of all, there was a food fair, which later became a Pantry Pride, which later became a Winn-Dixie. And then after that, I believe it became a Sedano's. There's a dry cleaner and a pizza place off to the side, which later became a West Marine. The food fair was first. Then, if I'm not mistaken, and many of my friends from Westchester or anybody from Miami can correct me on this, but the next one was, at the time, Adolph's Books, or was it the shoe store? I'm not sure which came first, but there was a shoe repair place. There was Adolph Books, a shoe repair place, and there was a record shop. The record shop came later, though. I'll remember it completely out of order, but there was a couple other stores, or one other store. Then there was the famous Lionel Playworld. I knew I missed something. It was the Eckerd Drugs. How could I miss the Eckerd Drugs? The Eckerd Drugs was part of that L-shaped mall, too. That was one of my favorite places to visit. I loved Lionel Playworld. That was, to me, that was heaven. It was sheer heaven. I remember as you enter the store to the right, that entire aisle was a good 15 feet high, 12, 15 feet high, filled with board games. Monopoly as far as the eye can see, Parcheesi, all the board games, sorry, all the classics, Trouble, every one of them. And for the entire first row had all of that. Basically every other game you could imagine. I bought so many Legos there. I had a buddy of mine, Tom Behar. Oh man, Tom Behar used to collect Legos. He had the largest collection I've ever seen. My friend John L. Corey and Tom Behar and I would or Behar, whichever way you pronounced it, play with Legos all the time. Moving on from Lionel Playworld, we had Western Auto, Zayas Shoes. There was a Five and Dime store. You know, one of these. Oh God, what was the name of that? It was like a Cuban CVS type of store. Obviously, I was crazy about the Radio Shack. The Radio Shack was there. There was American Fabrics, which later became Joanne Fabrics or Westchester Fabrics. They kept changing the name. National Office Supply. They had an office building there in a nice little sneaky location. My father used to work for a short time, for about a year or two, as a draftsman in that office building, which was right next to the movie theater. It was on the second floor. Now that's all, or at least when I left, it was all a Ross or something like that. So in the corner was that wonderful theater. A buddy of mine, Ray, worked at that theater. That brings us to the corner. So from food fair all the way down to the movie theater. And I know I missed one or two of them, but then was the most wonderful place in the world, which was the ice cream shop. It went by 2 or 3 different names, but it was the ice cream shop, and they had a Chinese pinball machine in the back that I would constantly be playing. After that was the barber shop, I believe. There was a dentist. There was a China Star restaurant, Arabesque Ballet School, Hallmark store. There was something in between the Hallmark store and the hardware store, but then it was Harper's Hardware. I loved Harper's Hardware. It's kind of like an Ace. And then one of my favorite places as a late teen, once I started driving, and as a young adult, was Lum's. I loved Lum's. There's nothing like those beer battered hot dogs. We would go constantly to that Lum's. And then was the Kelly Tires. It was the place where I got all my tires, and the first store that I ever worked at was that Radio Shack in that mall. Tomorrow perhaps I'll share with you the story of my life in Radio Shack. Thank you for watching. Feel free to comment. I enjoy reading them, particularly when they're pleasant. Please subscribe, and as always, have a great day.
Make room for Javi.